now a question for both of you, and you also, if you'd like to join. What's the worst trolling that you've ever seen?
I think, I don't know if this counts as trolling, but they're in like our I guess first year, second year of like my main circle, which like the friend I mentioned earlier, Till. He used to be kind of the main person I hung out with, and there was this person who what I had tried to befriend, and kind of just they were the type of person that they're on to vent, but they're also like clearly implying that they want some sort of guidance, some sort of advice, maybe. And I tried doing that, but then what I picked up on was like when certain people are hurting and they just want a pity party, right? They just want to keep where they're at because it's what they know, and so they want to stay there. And I picked this up and I moved away from them. Later on, that person ended up becoming a main part of this circle. And I think this only falls under trolling because it's just purposely misleading and purposely creating a cycle. And this person would have like DMs, would have calls with some of these people, he would purposely make calls that would stress them out and make them concerned so that he could feed off of that concern. So he would like call and he would be speeding on literally in his car speeding, and you could hear how fast the car was going. And then they were and then they're like talking like very depressively, almost as if they were suicidal. Wow. Just so the other person was like, no, don't do this. And then he would use that to go and do it anyway. Wow. He would threaten suicide, saying if he can't hang out, then he's probably just going to kill himself. And he would just sort of ride people's emotions, and make it seem like I really do want to do better. And it's all just kind of an act to create this bad cycle and dragging as many people down as possible.
Oof. What happened to him? How did the community respond to that?
Because I had originally interacted with him, I had a different perspective on it, and so I was brought in as a mediator. And I kind of took the role of the bad guy, saying this is what he's doing, this is the type of person he is, and like just trying to say like this is what needs to happen. I said if any of this goes wrong, just put it on me. But and I do know that it worked.
As in he was
I think
exiled?
I lost two to three. He was exiled from all of them, but I lost like 2 to 3 friends through that.
Wow. So there's a level of like trolling in that is like almost compulsory and obsessive, where it's almost vampire draining people's compassion and their own compasses of what they need, because he always has the biggest, most immediate crisis of sorts.
Yes.
Wow.
That's why when you say like the biggest case, I would say that, because somebody who joins a public and knows the exact words to hurt somebody, that's one night, and maybe a night can follow you for a long time. But I think the worst one is the one that sits next to you.
Oof. That makes me my stomach tightens just with how true that is and how scary it is, probably for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people don't share their pain because they're afraid of being seen as what he was doing. And how much that can actually implode people ahead of time. I don't want to be like him, and I'm watching how people are responding to him. And so I'm just going to like push that part away. So I guess my question for you would be, if you encountered a 2.0 version of them and you knew that they could be bumped, because in this case, Miss found you and bumped you onto a different path. It was a nudge, it was an invite, but you were going one direction and missed and brought you a different one. How would you bump that next person compassionately with your kind of core self? What would you say?
Even though I've had toxic beliefs in the past, I've always tried to be a person that is open to pretty much anything. And like, I've gotten better at it. I was definitely not great at it 4 years ago, but I was good enough to where, like, that nudge, I was willing for a nudge. Mm-hmm. Especially since he met me where I was. Yeah. He didn't literally and metaphorically. Yeah. He met me where I was, and that made me willing.
Yeah.
What is happening?
What's happening?
Music? Oh. There's an instrument that just sounds so out of place.
It's Legend of Breath of the Wild music.
I have my world volume off.
It's like a trumpet or a trombone.
Yeah.
And it's like really out of place.
Area.
Yeah, it's really wacky sounding.
Yeah.
You hear that, right? It's so wacky.
Yeah.
I don't.
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
That's okay.
It grabbed my attention.
I bet.
I don't know if you noticed. I stopped paying attention.
That's okay.
But the thing is that this person was a 2.0. Like, if I were to meet them again, like, I know a lot of this. There are people that, if someone was going to reach him, that in that context, it would need to be someone IRL, because VR chat, he already has it solidified in his mind that this is escapism. And whenever you have certain users that have that, and they have the only person that could reach him is a professional if he allowed a professional to help him. And the likelihood of that is very low. And the likelihood of someone from VR chat being able to touch him is just astronomically low. And I really think that for the general people, unfortunately, I would say, like, if I were to meet him again, unless he was around certain friends and I needed to know what he was doing, if he wasn't, if it was just like, I know he's not going to be involved with anybody, I would just block him.
Interesting.
Because this person he's not looking for healing online, and he's not open to it. He's on a path of dragging everyone down. And I think that is just a very dangerous thing. And I think you need a physical intervention IRL for that type of thing.
I hear you.
That's where the limits of VR really hit.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. And I also wonder if we have not organized as a community yet to the point where those interventions could exist and stay consistent in places like this, but not by one person, by a group of people who have a level of training and boundary setting to hold a consistent mirror to them and incentivize them to practice getting those interpersonal highs differently. There's a level of complexity there that I don't want to at all argue with your idea. I think there are people in here that fragment very easily in their consciousness. They have a hard time telling what's dream and what's real and what's fantasy. They can spin into conspiracy theories, and they can also spin into seeing everybody as objects to just help them have their own patterns of feelings that feel better than whatever is going on in physical reality. So I think there is a place for that, but I just want to plant a seed of curiosity of what kind of group creature would it take to hold somebody's attention like that and also invite them into a different behavior set and practice that. And I don't have the answer for you, but I have ideas. So thank you for that. Mist, what about you? What is the worst trolling you've ever seen? Or experienced?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind was an instance where it wasn't someone I knew super well, but they were, I guess, dumping a lot of emotions on me. and like they were getting very vulnerable. I could tell that they were hurting a lot, and I just was there for them to listen. And it happened to be a public instance, which isn't a great place for that. But I don't think we both thought about it. And so we're off on this other side of the map. It would kind of be like the equivalent of us being behind this curtain or something. And then someone else was here. We didn't know they were there. They were probably just, I don't know, doing whatever. But it turns out they were listening to the whole thing. And they, I guess towards the end, when it just seemed like everything was kind of calming down a little bit, they started using what they had heard against this person. And it, I felt really helpless in that moment. Like I wanted to stop them. I begged them to stop. I was pretty much in tears because I could just feel the pain of the other person after hearing everything. And I just couldn't get through to them. I think that was the worst situation because I just felt so helpless. I just felt like I could just sense that this other person was not doing well. There was barely anything I could do.
Oof.
And yeah.
That sounds horrific.
Yeah.
What happened to the person who was being trolled?
They eventually left. And it was like in the midst of it, so I was definitely very worried about them. It definitely hurt them quite a bit.